Welcome back to the Us Girls Basketball Podcast, where we hear from real women, real ballers, and real stories. Today we have a special guest, T. Webb, in the house. I'm so pumped because if you guys have been a part of this podcast for a while, we had T on for almost a year ago now, and super pumped to have her on. She's been killing the game. Just with this year, a lot of growth, a lot of new things in her life, and I just wanted her back on to just share some of the things that she's learning this year and whatnot. So T, how you doing, girl?
I'm doing good, great, really, especially, it's been a year, a lot can happen in a year, but overall it's been progressive and I'm happy.
That's great. Well,
thanks for having me.
Yeah,
thanks for calling.
Of course, I love it. So, one of the things, we have the tradition of the podcast where we ask, what is one piece of advice you would give your younger basketball self? Well, we know you already did that. And we're going to make everyone go back to the first episode to hear that. They want to hear your advice because I highly suggest they do. So we're going to kind of switch that. And I want to ask, what is a piece of advice that you've learned while coaching/training this past year?
Man, a lot, because a lot has happened this past year too. So on top of that, being able to adjust to the new world. But one advice I would give to others that's listening, but also that I've been able to take care of myself, is that it's super important to mentally stay in the game. So obviously I played, I've done that, and now I'm in a role where I'm teaching other upcoming players how they can apply these same skills to reach their goals. But one thing I need to make sure I always check myself is, hey, remember, you were a player. How can I keep myself in the player's mind while I'm training and while I'm giving them advice? So I think that's one of the top things on the list, And then also I found it was super important to learn the players. And I've been big, and I've been big with building relationships with my players and everything. But this past year, I've really, really been able to realize, like, building relationships and learning the player is super important, because the way I train one player might be different than the way I train another player, and how I talk to them, and that same process applies in training that it does as a coach for a team.
Yeah. There's a lot that I want to unpack on that, and I think we might be able to do this whole podcast on what you just said, because I love, you were kind of talking about putting your mind like back to when you were a player, when you're coaching, these athletes. And I think that's so important, especially now that I've stepped in that coaching role of just watching them and talking to them and communicating with them and understanding, like, I was in their position. And I think, not to like knock on some coaches, but I think we can get so caught up in that, like, coach's mentality and like, I got to be hard, I got to be tough, I got to I ran suicide, so you have to run suicide,
right.
Like that kind of mentality. And it's like, no, like, we are in a new age. We have too many resources to be in that mindset. And we've learned a lot too about like rest and recovery and better types of training and more efficient types of training. So why not ask your players or your athletes, like, how are they feeling? And then adjust from there. And I think that's really important. And I love that you said that, because that's been like a conversation around my house like for the past like month. So I've been on fire for this question. So
and then with that, like, I feel like a good idea for, especially, a good coach, I would say, is to do it, to get in, let the players know that you can do it too. I tell players, I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm not going to tell you to do anything I can't do or that I haven't done already. So maybe if I can't do it, due to my injury that we talked about a while ago, that's different. But I'm not telling them to, I'm not being this dictator, like, hey, do this, do that, and not explaining to them why this helps, why this makes sense, or, hey, I can do this too, I'm in the trenches with you. Because I just think that betters the bond, and then it also lets them know, like, okay, yeah, she's been through this before,
Yeah, definitely. I really like that, especially like finding that relationship that you can build like with your player versus with that coach. It kind of takes away like for like the comfortability, I guess, that they're a coach and I'm a player. But at the same time, it still comes down at the end of the day, like, I'm the coach and I'm the player.
Exactly.
But like you said, it makes the players feel like more comfortable, even more to like approach or ask a question, showing up to a practice knowing like, I'm going to get worked because my coach has done it before, but they're going to see me like either go through the highs and the lows, and then they're going to talk to me. It's going to make me feel better about like making mistakes instead of feeling like, oh, I need to uphold this standard. Like they're going to get on my butt if I don't do it right. No, it's going to be like, hey, you busted your butt. You might have messed up, but guess what? Let's do it again. Keep going hard. Like I believe in you. So being able to like build that trust, it helps with the mental mindset. It helps them have more confidence showing up to a practice, to a game, knowing that they can approach a coach and be like, hey, you were in my shoes 6 months, a year ago. Let's talk. Help me understand what I'm not seeing that you can see now.
Yeah. I think
sometimes I even a lot of mistakes too. So
yeah, that's the one thing is building those like expectations too. Like, so it's kind of like when you give them those expectations of work hard for me and I'm going to celebrate you. You know what I mean? Here's my expectation too of like, I don't care that you mess up. That means you're learning and growing. But like my expectation, if you have a bad attitude, okay, then I'm going to get on you. But so like, if you're clear with your athletes, I feel like they're going to want to train for you. They're going to want to run for that run through the brick wall for you type of thing. And even like you said, T, like still being able to show the athletes what you want them to do, and being able to do that's important. Because like even with the girls, like when I first stepped into coaching and I'm showing them these like attack ball handling drills that they've never done before, they kind of look like, oh my gosh, that looks crazy, even though it's really not, but I can do it. And I'm like, guys, like I'm not just doing this to like film a video and make it look cool and then like it goes viral because it's like a cool looking drill. Like I actually did this in a game. You know what I mean? So it's like showing them that trust, like you said, of like, I actually did this. Like the same workout you're doing, I went through it, and then being open about it. And it's really cool. And I know this podcast is a lot on like building those relationships, but I feel like when you're super open with your athletes, just saying like, I know where you're at. Like I've been very open with like even like mental health or like how I felt in workouts or what I feel about this workout or why we're doing the workout. Because I think sometimes like if you don't explain why you're doing the drill, they're like, okay, I guess I just do it. But when you give them context behind the drill, then they know what to see and look for and to do and to all of that. So yeah, you got me to rant because that was like, that was great. I've been talking about this stuff for so long. So I was like, yes.
No, definitely. I just think it just has to be done in moderation, but it's super important. Like the athlete still has to know, hey, this is who I'm learning from. This is my coach. I'm not mixing this up with my friend or my player, but I also am super comfortable with her or him, whatever. And I can still be open and ask questions, but at the right time or however it go.
Yeah,
but I don't think, it definitely has to happen, especially in this day and age now. People need to know, and athletes and just people in general need to know that somebody's on their side. And with us signing up as coaches, as being in that role, that mentor role, we have to let them know we on their side in some way.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, for real. Just really quick. I was gonna say it like makes them feel comfortable to approach something that they might feel uncomfortable talking about with a different coach or something. You might unravel something that maybe they never had the confidence to do or even try or even ask. And that's like that's the amazing thing about having that good coach reach out to that player. It can really unlock a lot of things. And like you feel like your star player or your players, boom, next thing you know, you build a little bit more trust and like friendship and relationship. Next thing you know, you're finding out more things. You're seeing they can do more for you, they can work harder for you. It goes like full circle at the end of the day.
Exactly.
And we just talked about relationships and kind of like why it's important to have a relationship. But T, I want to ask you, why is it important for you to build relationships with your athletes that you work with? And also, like, how do you see the impact of that? How do you see an impact from training somebody who trusts you and has that relationship with you versus maybe someone who's new and is still trying to gain trust from you and learn who you are as a coach and a person?
Well, I think building relationships is a huge part of what I do on an everyday basis, but specifically in my training, because I think it's important. And obviously you think that as well or know that as well. And I think the effect on that is, well, let me say this first, because my resume of what I've been through as a player shows that I can give them the skills, right? So I'm going to give them what they need to be better on the court, be better in their practices with their coaches and everything. But then for me, it's a little bit bigger because I like to dive deeper on how can you take away something from this session every time you leave. The one thing I tell them, like, you're going to get better. You're going to get better. I mean, I'm doing things for skill development here, and you're going to work hard. And one thing I don't coach is effort. But on top of that, with me building a relationship, getting to know you, learning how what makes you tick, how your body moves, so it could be more beneficial. I think that part goes into me building a relationship. Saying happy birthday, sending cards, and just being there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's super important because now it allows me to be that real leader role, take advantage of the role that I'm in and that I've decided to be for these athletes. So now they'll remember something. Because I mean, we don't remember everything, but if they can remember something that I'm giving them, some type of peace of mind or some type of something that sparks their mind or whatever the case may be, I'm real adamant that I want you to leave with something because I don't want you to just bounce the ball and realize and think that that's all the basketball. So I try to like share little stories that I've had or ask them certain questions or play around, play certain music, and I think that process is important as I build relationships.
No, that's great. Emma, you got anything?
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like with building that relationship and having them feel comfortable enough to come up to you and like express like who they really are and like going out of your way to like do like little things, say happy birthday, like send cards like outside, it makes them realize like, hey, like it's okay to like trust this person. It's okay to like believe like what they're doing because they have good intentions for me. They genuinely reach out to me. They genuinely make time for me and everything that is coming my way. And not only that allows your player to then become uncomfortable in new drills, uncomfortable in new lessons and new techniques because they are trusting in you like, hey, you know what? We've goofed around, we've listened to these songs, we've built this rapport together. And I don't really feel comfortable in this drill, but if they can do it and they believe I can do it, I'm going to try it.
Right.
And the best way to like change and like grow is to become uncomfortable. It's to do drills that we never thought we could do or we never wanted to do or we even dreaded doing. But then having that one mentor, like I've had several, like a whole bunch of trainers and coaches in my life. At first, like the first few workouts, you're kind of hesitant. You're like, dude, I can't do this. Like I messed up last week. Why are we still doing this? Then it's boom. They turn one of your favorite songs on. They start dancing, goofing around with you. Next thing you know, you do it hard once and they're like, look, you can do it. Who were you telling last week you couldn't do it? So it's things like that once that relationship forms, they're like, you know what? I can mess up here. It's okay to mess up because I'm going to learn from it. They're going to be on my butt. I'm going to go hard. I'm going to mess up. But guess what? Next week, I'm not going to mess up. And so I feel like, especially with what you're doing with your athletes, and I love how you said, like, you're going to learn something today. Yeah. It might be something.
Better, for sure.
Exactly. And if you can go for 45-minute, an hour workout without just, like you said, dribbling the ball and actually go home with something, that's a successful day because you got better. You built yourself as a basketball player better. And guess what? You just put yourself one step further ahead of your day by learning something today. So I think that's huge. If you don't learn something, then you honestly, in my eyes, wasted an hour of just dribbling the basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing I say because when my players, I got two players that's sticking out of my head now, and they get super upset when they mess up, like about to cry almost.
Yeah,
like
that ball.
They go crazy, and it's like, and I get it because they're competitors. Like I didn't like to mess up either, so I don't even like to mess up as an adult. But I tell them like, I'm not tripping about you messing up because one, you going hard. Now I would get on them if they not going hard and they don't want to be here, and that's a different story because now that's a different problem. But the main thing is you're going to mess up here to let me know and let you know that this is how you're going to continuously get better. Because if you don't mess up, then you could have, you don't need me. If you know everything, if you know everything, you don't need me. So you're going to come here to get better, and in getting better in that process, you're going to mess up continuously because we're going to learn something new. I'm going to continue to do more reps because the reps going to get put in. But if we're doing something that they already know how to do, then at this point now I'm wasting their time.
Exactly.
Yeah. And as a coach, I feel just being coached and then now stepping in the role of a coach. And I'm sure you can attest to this, both of you. It's like, as coaches, we always say, oh, like mistakes are where you grow in this. And like, I know all three of us truly mean that. Like I tell my girls,
Mhm.
especially during AAU, I literally told them, I said, I do not care if we lose this game or win. Like, and that's hard as a competitive person. I would say, I don't care. I want you to get better. So I want you to try the things that I'm doing. This is what it's for. This season doesn't count. We're playing just like regular tournaments. Go out and do it. But where they get so stuck in, and I hate it, is like they'll go and they'll try that thing and they'll make that mistake and then the coaches are mad at them. But then on the flip side, they're saying, no, I want you to do this. And it's like, it's back and forth. So I feel like as a coach, and I know we're young coaches in this, but I think that's where we bring value as we were just players not that long ago by saying like, no, we understand the value of growth. And I'm going to reiterate it to my girls all the time. Like I'm going to encourage them. And if they lose the ball on a drill or in a game, but I saw that they tried to make the right decision, I'm going to cheer them on and say, hey, so-and-so, right decision. Good job. And then correct them. Maybe you should have dribbled with your left hand. Maybe you should have gone up sooner. Maybe like use corrections. I can't stand how some of these coaches now are like just trying to like belittle the players because they made a mistake. It's like, I didn't want to make the mistake. Like, do you think I wanted to miss a shot? Like, I didn't.
Like people on purpose. Right?
Yeah.
I say that's funny because that's something that I say too. Like especially because I get on my players too. Like I don't want to make it seem like my trainers are easy because I can get on somebody, but but they know it's love though too. So if I'm getting on them, you know, because I'm a competitor too. Sometimes I play against my players or something. So sometimes when I get too hyped, I start like saying things that it's like, and then I have to dial back like, well, I know you didn't miss that shot on purpose, but if you now let's pay attention to your form. Let's pay attention to what happened because I think the main difference is like we want them to make mistakes so they can get better, but then we don't want them to continue to make the same mistakes because now they're not learning, right? So it's like we teaching them new things and they in new game situations for from the team coaching standpoint, but if they're in new drills or new game scenario situations as far as training. Like it's okay to mess up. I want you to go hard and mess up because obviously this is something that you're now just applying. But if you continuously doing the same thing that we've already went over, now that's another issue. Like okay, we're not learning, so let's dial back.
Yeah, it's opening that gate to saying, try it, do it, make the mistake. Okay, you did the game, bringing it back to practice. We're gonna do it 100 times. This type of thing. To okay, now you made the mistake. You know what to do. Whether that is, like you said earlier, learning the player. Is that me adding a correction? Is that me giving them a plan A, B?
Yeah.
Is that me just kind of giving them a high five because that's all they want? Is that me? You know what I mean? It's learning the players, like, which is a deeper topic. We could talk about like love languages and stuff because I think that's a lot of coaches need to learn the love languages for their players.
Definitely.
How to coach, but that's a whole other.
That takes time too, man. My coach tried to do that in college. She tried to do that in college with us, and we did like one session, and it was not effective. I mean, shout out to my college coaches, but it was it was just not effective. I was like, it was helpful in the time being, but then I'm like, because I think we did y'all heard of the you got to learn like colors, like if you're like more blue or orange I forgot, it was like a personality thing of that sort, and then it narrowed it down to like 4 main categories. I can't remember, but it was a good idea. What you just made me think about, it was like a great idea, but then my coach kind of just like, you forgot that I'm a blue or whatever the case.
You never have to stay consistent, but it's like it's one of those things though, like even you said, like sending a birthday text or like I know like my girls on my team are they don't hide their feelings very well. Like you can see it just painted on their face. So it's like one of those things where they walk in the gym and I see one of them is really just not having it today. I'm gonna wrap my arm around her and just try to make her laugh. You know what I mean? Like, you good? And then I get to see if she wants to open up or not. If she doesn't, then I'm just gonna like do something funny and make her laugh. You know what I mean? Because we actually care. Like I'm not sitting here and trying to like just make these girls trust me as a coach just to win me games. You know what I mean? I actually truly care about them as people and how I can impact them. And I believe that for you guys too. I know that's where your heart's at with it. And that's what's really important, like you said, T, there's a time to be like more stern and kind of get on them because maybe they're losing focus or they just kind of need that kick in the butt for a second, but then you show it with love. And that kick in the butt is love. You know what I mean? We're not belittling them. We're not saying you suck, like get off like this. We're just saying, I know you're better than this. So like, give me that effort. I showed up for you, show up for me. You know what I mean? And that can look different ways for different players, but I just truly believe like building those solid relationships impacts them, because now that they feel open, they can come talk to you about other things or just trust you, or make the experience of working out. It's fun. It's not a drag that I have to go training tonight. You know what I mean? Like, it's fun. You create that atmosphere. So I love that.
Something to get hype about,
Yeah.
Exactly. I love that. I saw you. Were you talking about? I didn't want to.
Yeah, I was gonna say. No, it's definitely. I think it's like, I think that's kind of like where we can draw the line between like older basketball growing up and like where we are nowadays. It's like we encourage the mistakes, we welcome the mistakes, and maybe like back then, like if you couldn't do it, they would be like, "What are you doing? Like play in your position. Like don't try that. Like you're a rebounder. Like stick with that. Like don't try anything." And like we have been saying though, like it is too many mistakes if it's still the same mistake again. But we like, that's something I feel like we're really focusing on now day and age, and especially for like the women's game of basketball, is to welcome like the uncomfortability, welcome the uncomfortable things that we are trying and the mistakes and the new things that we're accomplishing, like in this game, from all the way up to the WNBA to like college players now being able to like make money off of their name. I think it's a big change that is going in the right direction to understand like, hey, like it wasn't a pretty pathway to get here, but I'm not sticking with my mistakes. I'm still working harder. I'm still growing, but I'm making it more fun. I'm showing these girls that, you know what, like I can get here. I can like accomplish these things, and it's capable, because if I can do it and I'm a human being, you can also do it and you're a human being. But we're not going to like focus on you staying in one spot. We're not going to have like, just a straight progression. We're going to progress. We're going to have like an increase in where you're going. And instead of like discouraging them, saying like, like, we've done this drill a few times, you still can't get it. It's like, hey, you have off time, you have off season, practice on that. So when like you do get back into this drill, we try it after like the second week or the third or fourth time, then you can do it. That's where it also comes in. Like you have the amount of time in your life to put in extra work, not just in the hour that you're given in that training. And that's one thing that people should be encouraged and should be told more, especially with building these awesome relationships with our coaches nowadays. It gives us the comfortability to keep practicing outside the game, to keep practicing outside of training and whatnot, to then come back and show our trainer and be like, yo, Coach T, like, look what I did. Like, I can finally do it. Like, I did this last night in my driveway. Instead of being like, like it's week number 2, you still can't get it. Let's just focus on your role. You do that. Because it's like, we do have these players nowadays that can play multiple positions. And yes, when it comes to a game, like you need to understand your role and like where you're at in that position, but don't hold back your own capabilities and abilities, because once you get comfortable with your comrades, with your colleagues, with your coaches, it's going to be like, hey, I got so much support here. Maybe coaches down like in my past are like, I could never do this. Look where I'm at now. I'm showing them I can do this. And I think that's where like the big change is nowadays, is encouraging girls to keep following like their talents and their strong suits, but also don't overemphasize it if it's not necessarily what's needed at the time, but still have confidence in it.
Yeah, I think that as you were talking too, something I thought about, because you mentioned twice the comparison of this day and age versus even probably younger than me, before social media is what I want to bring up, even though it's a little bit off topic, but now social media is a really big influence when it comes to what players are out there. There's this mood, this highlight, blah blah blah, which is dope, because it's our age. But I've experienced with some of my personal players, they think they're there already, or they think that they put their stuff on this other pedestal that they may or may not be able to compare to yet, because of what social media has made them feel like they need to be at already. I mean, and that happens to even us as young adults, I'm sure, until we realize that that's a different world. So when saying all of that though, to encourage them to keep working and realize like, yo, this is a great highlight video, or yes, that was a good move, or this coach did offer this girl, and that shouldn't discourage you if you're not there yet, but it also, shouldn't blindside you and make you think like, oh, you can go out there and do these things too without putting in the work, because it's still a process that has to, happen. Back in the day, they didn't have social media, video, all that. So they were grimy and getting it outside courts, rec league. Even me, I was at the rec all the time. Like I stayed in the gym. Like my coach, my high school coach to this day attested I was a gym rat. So it's like I wasn't recording that, but it's like, man, I wish I would have, now.
Right,
but, but it's like, man, I don't want the younger players now. They get so caught up in that. Like I got a guy who stopped playing basketball. Actually, we only worked with each other maybe 3 times before they moved or whatever, but he stopped playing basketball because one of his friends was getting a lot of clout on social media. He thought he should be where he should be at, and it didn't work. So it's kind of like, man, it's super important to still put the work in. Let somebody, in their life letting them know, like, yo, this is what it takes to get there. I'm on your side. All of that come with, especially now, day and age.
Yeah, it's the same as what we talked about, like Instagram and like those types of platforms are highlight reels. Like I'm only posting like the best photos on Instagram. I'm only posting, I'm not posting the photo that I maybe just cried 20 minutes before. You know what I mean? Like you don't post that stuff. So it's the same thing like you're talking about is like, yeah, we're posting these highlight videos of like the game and stuff, but like the previous game, I could have had one of the worst games of my life, or I'm not showing that hard work or like the mental stuff that I'm going through as I'm working or this and that. Like it's definitely a highlight reel, and it is sad that players get caught up in that, you know what I mean, in comparison to that, because even the best players are going through things that they might not be talking about, or ups and downs. Like we're still human. Just because you're an athlete, you can't disregard regular like day-to-day life, in those things. So I think that was a really good point that you brought up about that, because it's really important, especially with the whole mindset movement that we've been talking about in sports and stuff, is just understanding that you have your own journey, and like my journey I might be a late bloomer compared to some of these other people, or you might be early bloomer and you're getting all of this, like we said, like clout and fame off of it. But then if you don't keep working and you're only relying on that, by the time you're a senior in high school or even a senior in college, you might not live up to that expectation that you put on yourself or people put on you, because you are so focused with that notoriety with that. So that's a really big topic, huge topic for sure. I'm really glad that you brought that up, T, and I'm just really happy with this conversation. I love having you on the podcast. I love talking to you. Like you just drop wisdom nuggets all over the place.
Love it.
The whole time. But before we end, I just want to have you just plug all of your stuff. Like your Instagram, website, training, whatever it is. This is your time to plug everything.
Okay, well, yeah, my Instagram is tweb.effect with an A, so TWEBB.effect with an A, and my website is www.twebeffect.com. So super easy. Those are the best ways to reach me and contact. I do have a Facebook and a number and all of that, but I reply super quick on my Instagram and then my website. I am actively training. I should be doing some virtual training here super soon. Just waiting on some things to finalize, but so now I can train players all over the world. I am now currently training in the DC DMV area, so DC, Maryland, Virginia area. So I am doing some training in Chicago and some training here. So I'm super excited to be growing and getting to know more players and really just, pouring into them what has been poured into me over these years and what I'm continuously learning,
Well, that's amazing. Guys, we're going to have all of that on the Instagram, the show notes down below, all that stuff. Please go check her out. Just like you heard her today dropping all this amazing knowledge. Like it's all over the Instagram as well and the website. So just eat it all up. That's all I have to say.
And I appreciate you before. I don't want you to end without me letting you know I appreciate, you inviting me back on here and just what you're doing for the community. I know you've been doing a lot on TikTok and Instagram and website and coaching. And so it's just real admirable to see.
Thank you, T. Oh,
definitely.
That means a lot.
I even want to shout Jay out too. Like it's awesome because then like I get to meet people like you, T, and not only that, but like having you on here and just for the short time we got to talk, like it just strengthens like my faith in like what Jay's doing, what she's invited me to do with her, because you are someone who obviously loves the game of basketball and obviously wants to give back their knowledge, but I can genuinely feel that, you know what, you had a good career, but you can teach these kids to do something better. Yeah. And it's possible to do something better with a good mindset, with a good attitude, with a good relationship, and trusting that, you know, like, you're going to mess up before you get that highlight reel perfect and you get that cloud that you've always wanted, but you're going to get there. And, you know, I'm here to help you along the way. I've seen the good, the bad, the great, the ugly. You're going to go through it too, but you're not alone. And so just getting to meet someone like you who's really putting your talents to great use. Like you said, you're still learning, I'm sure, so much from the players that you are coaching and as they're learning from you. But it just really strengthens like my hope and my faith and everything. We get to meet people like you, have them on for like 2 seasons already. So that's awesome. I can't wait for you to be on season 3. I already know it's going to happen. But it's things like that where I get to meet people like you who know like there are so many good players out there. Let's get better. Let's get even better than what you thought you could be. So it was a blessing to meet you today, and I can't wait to see like how your training goes for here on out.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Community. Girls supporting girls. I love it. Woo! This is so awesome. See, again, you're more than welcome when season 3 comes out.
There you go.
On it. We love T-Web on this podcast. That's all we have to say. So again, thank you guys so much for watching this podcast. Make sure to check out T on her Instagram and website, and make sure to rate and review this podcast. Share this podcast with anybody who might need this. Just with training as a coach, as a mentor, as anything, please share this podcast because lots of little pieces of advice here and there were dropped, and it was super awesome. Make sure to follow the Instagram at Us Girls United as well, just to stay updated with the podcast. And there's a lot of new information coming out just to help you guys with basketball season coming out super soon. I mean, it's going to be here before we know it. So just a lot of preparation for that. And with that being said, we will see you guys next week.
Have a good one.